The next thing we need to do is deal with these samples. We need to put these work samples in a reasonable order. What the wide version of it is they end up in four columns, and in this case I have 8 categories, or 8 samples rather. And the source code, if we take a look at that, the samples article is done in an unordered list, and each of those pictures is inside a tag, so they become links. So this is kind of a normal sort of navigation thing that we're setting up here. If we think of it as just navigation buttons, that should make it easier for us. So coming at it from that perspective, we're going to style the unordered list. We need to do list style none, padding 0, margin 0. We need to do the text align center, float left, and the width is 100%. Let's go ahead and see what that does. And it's best if we look on the page we're building. Okay, so now they're all in the center. Pretty cool. That might not be what we want. We want them actually to go in a line. So we need to set up what the list items are doing. The unordered list itself is centered, is 100%, and the items in it are centered. So the sample LI needs to put those in line. So there are 4 of them in line, which we are making then the width of 24% on each of the pictures. If we're going 4 across, that would be 25% each, but we want a little bit of space between them. So instead of doing creepy hard math, what we're going to do is just say, hey, let's make them 24%, and that should give us a little bit of space between them. So the margin around each of the LIs is 0, except that there's 20 pixels at the bottom. We're going to position them relatively. The font weight is 700. The font size is 1 rem. Line height is 110%. We're going to display them block. Now, as we know, LIs are block level elements, but in order to get them to get the LI to shrink wrap to what's inside of it, we need to say display block on it. We're going to have them float left. The width on them is 24%, and the margin right is 1.33 and several 3 decimal places. Now, where did we get that margin right? Fairly simple to figure that one out. We do have to do just a tiny bit of math. We have 4 items. We want to know what the space is between them, and that's 3 spaces. We know that if each one of them is 24 wide, 4 times 24, just if we're going to do math for a journalist, we should get out a calculator. 24 times 4 equals 96. That leaves us 4% to spread out over this. So 4, and there are 3 spaces that we're going to spread that out over. 4 divided by 3 is 1.333. once you do that math, you can just copy this out of your calculator and put a percentage sign behind it. Now if we add margin right to all of them, that's going to still affect the last one, which we don't want it to do. So what we're going to say is that on the list item nth child 4n, that means every fourth one take off the right margin. And we'll see what that looks like. They came right into line doing that. Okay. If we resize the page, nothing much is going to happen. They will shrink down, but they're not going to pop into another order because we'll have to tell it to do that later. Now there is a possibility that if we had more than 2 lines of these, that it might start to get confused as to whether it should just return or whatever, and so sometimes it's helpful just to be on the safe side to put in a clear. So what this is saying is that on the nth child, every 5th list item, we're going to clear it, and when we clear it, it basically takes any sort of float off and then puts it back on again. The image itself, we're going to put a margin bottom of 3 pixels on. And the first child of images, position absolutely top 0, the z-index is 1, and the opacity is 0. Now, we don't actually have anything in there right now to affect that, but I want to show you what that's going to affect. And then we'll fix the problem that we don't have it in there. Here's the done design. When I mouse over them, it turns a darker color. The only way to achieve that with HTML and CSS is to actually have 2 layers of images. One is a black image, and one is the actual image that we're going to use. So let me get the code for that, and I will show you what we're going to do for it in the next movie.